sometimes the best things happen out of the worst things, right? Because we started this company when I long had given up. I had long walked away. It was over. It was never going to happen. I decided filmmaking was just not my future because I was in a really bad spot in life. But a good situation changed that, and we come together. We meet at the station, and we get involved in other people's stuff that didn't work out, and that's okay because failure is part of success, right? And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, even at your darkest moments, even in times where you feel like nothing is going right, is very much where the best things happen. And the brightest, most positive things in your life come from that darkness. So don't ever feel like you can't do it. You're at a point, you're in despair, or you're just like, don't ever feel that way. That because you can do it. You can always change. You can always come out of that darkness and do it. And so let's see, the company. The company we were working on other projects, and it was just not going. But we were working on it, and like Logan said at the top of the show, he teased it. This is a very special week because 6 years ago this week, we were asked to go on an internet radio show, that show with those guys, to talk about the film that we were producing with other people. Wasn't our project. Wasn't a Crazy Ant project. Other people's project. Crazy Ant wasn't really Crazy Ant yet. Kind of, but not really. But so we go on there. We discussed it. Should we go on there? Shouldn't we? But okay, I guess it'll be fun to kind of talk or whatever. No intention of ever doing anything on our own like that, right? But it went over so well. The guys asked us if we would like to do a show on their radio network. We were like, what? Well, we're kind of busy working on this film. That's what we were just talking about. Is this a good idea? So we talked about it. Half our people were like, no, we don't have time. This is stupid. We shouldn't do it. How are we ever going to do this? But Logan and I, we talked about it. And I just want to preface, at this point, Logan is just there. Not an owner yet, not running the joint, he's just literally a part of it. Like, he's going to work on the film. That's it, just working on the film. But we talked about it. And like really the first kind of glimpse that I got that he gets it. And he's like, but what a way to get the name out. What a way to get the name out. And so we decide to do it. And this is sort of the birth of Inside the Crazy Ant Farm, you guys. It started off as an internet radio show. And it was awful. It was god awful. But
so bad.
We did it. Let's see. That was in October. So 3.5 months later, we decided this isn't really kind of our jam. We can't work with this format. It's not. Something just didn't feel right. So we broke away from that internet radio, and we said, let's turn this into a podcast. Let's make this a podcast instead of an internet radio show. And we relaunched Inside the Crazy Ant Farm as a podcast. We changed up the format. We started getting a little different with how we approached it. And then, boom, here we are. 6.5 years later, almost 200 guests later, 238 shows later. Holy shit, what a ride. What a ride the podcast has been, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Obviously, we want to thank all 199 of our guests. But I mean, the main ones, and let me know, jump in if I'm forgetting anybody. But I mean, Keena Ferguson, was the first person who reached out to us and was the first big time actress that was doing it out in Hollywood. I'll say everybody
on a hit show. She was on a big hit show.
Rebecca Kennedy. She, of course, our forever guest. We still have her on to this day. I mean, we had Roger Christensen, who that's from Star Wars. He created the lightsaber. So this guy is massive.
And the Millennium Falcon, and like all
yeah.
I just our first huge guys, he's a 2-time Oscar winner. This is a 2-time Academy Award winner. One of the 4 people in the room with George Lucas that created Star Wars. He was in the George Lucas, Roger Christensen, and the 2 other guys are the guys who created Star Wars. And oh my God! And we had him on the show.
Very early on.
Very early on. It's just
Rick Traum, your buddy Rick Traum.
Yes.
That met at a film festival one time and did a panel with him, and like that was amazing.
Our second Emmy winner. He is an Emmy winner. Johnny Carson, Saturday Night Live, like all these massively important, huge shows that this man produced on and won the Emmys for. And I'm just like, what? So we had an Academy Award winner and followed up with an Emmy winner, and we're just like, whoa. What's going on here, right?
It was just we were under 50 episodes.
Yes.
Like, that was the big thing. Like we hadn't even reached 50 episodes yet. And then I mean, I would say our first major, very big publicized person who we had on the show was Ed Asner. I mean, I don't believe, like, as a household name, I guess you could
household name, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that was huge. So yeah, I mean, of course, like we said, all of our guests are absolutely amazing. Wouldn't trade them for the world. But those 5, those are the ones that definitely pop out to me as the helping of launching ITCAF podcast inside the Crazy Ant Farm. Because I mean, since then, we've been able to land huge guests because we've had their name a part of our catalog. So I mean, yeah, it's crazy. And like you said, it was awful. At the very beginning, like our guests, like we were doing very structured questions, and then even after we got past that point, you were basically the only one talking.
Oh my gosh, If you go back, there's a reason why the nickname The Mouth started, right? Because it was The Mouth, because I was literally nobody would talk, and they would start to open up during the industry news and everything. They would give their opinions or whatever, and then we would get to the guest segment and they froze. They would not say and I was like the only one. It was so funny.
Do you remember when we actually used to record the whole show in one day? So we would try to knock out the industry news and then literally do the guest segment right after the industry news. And
they would call in.
Yeah. Like that was so wild. I mean, I remember I was so scared of switching over to Zoom because like we would share certain faces when like people would say certain things, or like if some interviews were dragging, we would be like, okay. But then switching to Zoom, like it worked out in our favor. So I'm glad we finally did it. But that's what I'm talking about, getting out of the comfort zone and taking risks. But yeah.